As many of you may know, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link was cancelled, and the APK builds from the game has been leaked and datamined. I am going to be presenting all the datamined files from Missing Link with images and video here today. I was debating whether to make this video or not, as I know many will understandably not be very happy with this being made. The files contain information about the game, including story elements, worlds, characters, keyblades, among other things. Despite all the leaks and data mines now being public, there has been an effort to make these leaks as hidden as possible. Discussion around Missing Link leaks are banned on both the KH subreddit as well as the KH Discord. If you Google Missing Link leaks, you will not find anything in the results, save for a few small things that were leaks a while ago. KH YouTubers have also tried to have these leaks be as hush-hush as possible in order to avoid the contents of Missing Link being spoiled in case they incorporate the content in a different way in the future, such as a reworked console game. While I completely understand and even agree with this sentiment, when it comes to Missing Link and its data mined contents, I believe that there is right now no point in hiding the content any longer, due to the fact that Missing Link as a game is completely cancelled. They will simply not rework the game, as that is not how game development works on Unreal Engine and KH. The Missing Link assets were built from scratch to be made for mobile all the way back in 2019, and importing mobile Unreal Engine assets to console is not a simple process of copy and paste. The fact that the assets from Missing Link were made from scratch and for such a long period of time would mean that a console Missing Link game would also have to be made from scratch essentially, and Kingdom Hearts does not have multiple teams working on games. The Missing Link team was essentially, to my understanding, a part of the main KH team that was made to develop Missing Link after a pitch by one of the developers, as reported by KH Tomorrow. With the team now focusing on Kingdom Hearts 4, the game they have planned to create after that will be their main focus, whether that be Verum Rex or Kingdom Hearts 5 or whatnot. Missing Link will certainly not be developed from scratch again for consoles by the main KH team anytime soon. Like Square Enix has said, the game is cancelled. Work on it has ceased. My guess is that they will probably incorporate parts of its story into the mainline games like Kingdom Hearts 4, perhaps with Mickey being in Scala as we have seen with the screenshots. That being said, the Missing Link leaks that exist are, in my opinion, despite being interesting in and of itself, are not that insanely crazy to warrant this secrecy. They do spoil the plot of Missing Link, of course, but in my own honest opinion, most of it doesn't really have any far-reaching ramifications for the KH series as a whole. When looking at the Missing Link plot, it really does seem to me like most of it was made up as a way to give a story to Missing Link, rather than being any story elements that they had any long-term plan for the series' future. Because I don't deem any of the current existing Missing Link data mines as having any major ramification for the series' future, as well as being from a game that probably isn't gonna come back, I have decided to make this video. These are all things that are currently public and things that Square Enix themselves put in the game willingly, knowing that people can and will data mine it. Now, let's go through all the leaks, shall we? The Worlds was actually one of the few things that leaked prior to the game's cancellation, although not in its entirety. It is only now that we have found out about all the worlds that were in the files. Most of the Disney worlds seem to be returning worlds, and many of them haven't been seen in a long time, and with new locations from said worlds. Interestingly enough, there is actually a plot reason for why we are specifically revisiting all the worlds, which will be brought up later in the story section. Here is a full breakdown of the data mined worlds. Our first Disney world is Pinocchio's village. There is a lot of textures for this one, indeed a whole map for this area. This world seems to have been based on the village for Pinocchio, rather than just Monstro or Prankster's Paradise. How unfortunate that this is now the second time that a Pinocchio world based on the village has been cut, with the first one happening with 358 over 2 days. The mysterious jungle world that we saw in footage for Missing Link actually turns out to be Neverland. We have already seen a lot of this world in HD already from the gameplay footage, but nonetheless, here's the full reflection cube map for this world. Another one that we saw in official trailers for the game, the Tangle world, was of course also supposed to be in the game. For KH3 worlds, we of course already know how they probably would have looked like. Here's the skybox for the world as well as some assets. One thing I'm curious about is whether these textures exist in the Tangle world in KH3 at all. If not, that could indicate new areas or objects. Let me know in the comments if any of these ropes or barrels or any other assets that we're going to see from returning worlds look familiar to you at all. Monstropolis was also set to return. Once again, let me know in the comments whether these objects can be found in Cage 3. Traces of Agrabah can also be found, with the file name AL for Aladdin, and a box. Not much else for this one. File name BB for Beauty and the Beast can also be found once again, with only one single asset, being a UV mapping material. Folder name DW, aka Dwarf Woodlands, with one box asset, probably from Snow White's cottage or something. These next couple of worlds don't have any assets other than their respective world logos. Many of these worlds were found in the Datamined solely by finding their respective world logos on the world map. These worlds are San Francisco, Arendelle, Olympus, this one's quite surprising, Pride Lands, 100 Acre Wood, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do there, Disney Town from Birth by Sleep, not Disney Castle, Hollow Bastion from Cage 1, Land of Departure, interestingly enough, considering its possible connections to Scala, and Destiny Islands. There seems to be a big focus on the main island in this image, however all these world logos are reused from previous games, and this one is reused from Recoded. We also have Scala ad Caelum, of course. This is a world we have seen many times in the trailers and in the gameplay. It seems that it was planned to be quite big. Here we have the Dark World. I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to do there either, and there's only a handful of the files from this world in the game. The final world is also present, and the assets used are the textures from Dive to Heart. There is an unknown world that uses the prefix WI, which is usually used for Timeless River. However, the assets used are for the world map, and so it could be a placeholder of some kind. There's also cutscenes files for the following codenames: PI for Pinocchio, BT and QR. I'm not quite sure what those last two ones refer to. QR could be Quadratum, which in that case would be quite shocking to see in Missing Link. BT could possibly refer to Scala. Those were all the worlds in the files. Here's the interesting thing though. Even though all these worlds are returning from past games, there is evidence to suggest that brand new worlds were going to be in this game as well. During a private showing of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link that was done behind closed doors, attendees noted the fact that there was a mystery world that Nomura was particularly excited about, and asked attendees to guess what it was. The world was described as having a moonlit night with mountains, a cityscape, and a big lake or ocean. None of the leaked worlds matched that description, and I have spoken to many Disney movie enthusiasts, and we all came to the conclusion, independently mind you, that this was probably describing the Pixar movie Luca, due to its specific descriptions. So more worlds than those leaked were most certainly planned, but are now probably lost to time, as even if Missing Link somehow came back as a game, I doubt that these worlds would even be playable for it. Story. Alright, it's time to talk about story. Indeed, there was quite a lot of story elements in the files for this game. Once again, in my honest opinion, the story here was not spoilery for the Cage series as a whole, and I genuinely believe most of this will be scrapped and considered non-canon due to its game-specific plot beats that I feel like was made specifically for this game, and not for the overall mythos of Cage. There is maybe one or two exceptions though, and I debated whether it's wise to bring up, but considering that the mainline games already have brought up similar elements to what exists here, I decided to reveal everything that the files reveal about the story. It is possible that Missing Link would have story elements in it that would have much bigger ramifications for future games like Cage 4, but none of these spoilers are found in the files, rest assured. We don't know everything about the story in this game, only what we've been able to find in the beta files. Now, what was the purpose of going to the Disney worlds that I mentioned previously? Well, people in Scala are trying to complete a sort of astral record of the worlds, which details the past, the present, and the future of each world. But somehow, distortions appear that change the established history of the worlds from what was written in the Book of Prophecies. According to in-game dialogue, some sort of sinister, unimaginable power is messing with the pre-established time of the worlds in Kingdom Hearts. Here are some of the dialogue directly taken from the files. Our goal is twofold, and both parts involve the Book of Prophecies. The book is, of course, full of prophecies telling of the future. We thought it was lost a century ago in the confusion following the war, but some pieces of it were found to still exist. All these societies, including ours, formed to find the rest of the book's pieces, The pieces heighten Keyblade wielders' capabilities, making societies with more pieces more powerful. So that's our first goal, obtain pieces of the Book of Prophecies. I'll tell you about our second goal once we reach our destination. What we possess isn't the Book of Prophecies itself, but a copy. At some point, part of it was altered, but that shouldn't be possible. The book isn't simply a written record of the future, it is a reflection of the future, as are its copies. The only way to change the book would be to change the actual event it describes. Some sinister, unimaginable power must have altered the future. The book is absolute, we mustn't allow this to happen. This is very interesting, and in my opinion the only part of this story that could have ramifications for KH going forward. The fact that the Book of Prophecy is, as described, not just a written book, but a direct reflection of the future, and that somehow time is changing in the future by some sinister power, going against even the Master of Masters' abilities. This would be a lot more consequential of a plot twist, if it wasn't for the fact, however, that we have already seen Sora do this in KH3, when he rewrote the timeline to make sure that darkness didn't prevail. One could also technically point to Timeless River and how time was rewritten there. Still, this seems very interesting. The founders who bring together all societies of this world, including ours, are trying to complete an astral record containing the past, present, and future of each and every world. Our job is to collect the pieces that will be part of it. That's why we have to fix the distorted history in Villaggio del Paini, so we can get those pieces. Lots of nice folks there, but also a few who try to tempt or deceive you. And there are some kids you'll probably want to help. It's a tricky place, that's for sure. Oh, and one more thing. You can never ever interact with the residents of the worlds you visit. If they find out there are other worlds, it could throw out the whole order of the world. We are Valas, the light unseen that purges the darkness. Like previously mentioned, while these distortions are happening, they are trying to make a complete astral record of these worlds that is still consistent. It also seems to point to the fact that we would interact with NPCs like we usually do in Disney worlds. Yet at the same time they tell you to not interact with them so that the order isn't ruined. But Nomura has said in the past that you do interact with the characters of each world like usual. Although how much we could explore of these worlds isn't quite known. The Pinocchio world and possibly the Monstropolis one seem to have been tutorial related worlds as well due to their early appearance. To review, this place is called a warp world, and there are very specific reasons why they send Keyblade wielders like us to keep an eye on them. Let me show you what I mean, and that's our number one duty. Defeating Heartless. Number 2 is comparing the events taking place to what's written in the mission details in order to find any discrepancies. Then we set things straight, and bam, the distortions disappear. As for the mission details of this world, I'll explain everything as we go. Getting rid of these distortions in the written history of these worlds seems to have been the main reason for going to them. Some other dialogue that was found in Monstropolis also seemed to indicate that they are aware of Sora going to that world in the future through the Book of Prophecies, and the story or side story for that world seemed to be to make the events of that world in KH3 to still happen in the future and to get rid of the distortion that is trying to destroy the timeline of the world, possibly so that Sora doesn't save that world in the future. If trying to maintain the order of the worlds and to make sure that Sora visits them in the future is a key reason for visiting the worlds, then that would explain why most of them are indeed returning worlds. This would also make it very easy to add KH4 worlds in Missing Link through updates, as the plot then would once again be to make sure that the world's timeline of, let's say, Moana stays consistent and that Sora visits them in the future, marking a connection to KH4 and Missing Link. Although this also doesn't necessitate returning worlds, and there could still be new and unique worlds that were planned for Missing Link that simply try to correct worlds as they are described in the Book of Prophecies. Here's some other dialogue that was found. And remember, I will always be with you. No, I mean that literally. Our hearts aren't connected or some schmaltz. Could you turn about 90 degrees to your left for me? Right there. See that tiny little drone floating around? I'll be watching you from there. Your ever faithful companion. So don't even think about cheating. Good luck. Let the test begin. There are myriad bands of Keyblade wielders like us out there. They each have their own goals, some in service of the darkness. We're all enemies to each other. Say hello to Master Ephemer, forefather of Skalad Kylum. Do you remember the words? May your heart be your guiding key. May its path lead you to the door. Here, take a peek at one of the altered sections. You can look over your mission and any related prophecies here. Pretty handy, right? See how some of it's still missing? That's where it's been altered. Your job is to fix it. Not to worry, I'm sure it won't be too difficult. Whoever did this probably just sent some heartless to stir up trouble. Characters. Some interesting files regarding the characters featured were also found. In the dive to the heart conversation that was had when the player falls into darkness before waking up, a conversation can be heard. At first, the assumption was that these two people were unrelated to any pre-existing character. However, the files suggest that the two people talking are actually Brain and Ephemer. Here's the full conversation, courtesy of the Gamers Joint.
回収は可能。接続部に確認した1名は他は接続部から先の状況は不明。ログでは崩壊時に多くの生体エネルギーが移行された形跡。そうか。ともかくその1名の回収を急ごう。では箱舟になんだこのもう一つの反応。
This seems to suggest that Ephemer is actually alive in the era of Missing Link somehow. Two characters, seemingly some sort of antagonists, were also planned to appear. Their names seem to have been Hugin and Moonin. They wore crow masks and were seemingly the two people that were seen overlooking the player from the roof in the beta, with one of them having the Demix looking hair. Here are some more characters and asset files that were found in the data. That's currently all the files that have been found in the data of Missing Link as I'm making this video. More data might be uncovered over time, and depending on its contents, I might make a part 2 to this video. But if any new data mines reveal something that I deem too spoilery, I won't cover it. But for now, that's all that has been managed to be found. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you for watching, and may your heart be your guiding key.